Okay, so this is going to be a quick one, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk about resetting a position. So, for instance, the player or maybe the enemy. So just really quick, if I go into play mode here in our game and I'm playing and say I'm trying to get on this weird platform over here and I jump and I miss. Uh, so right now in my game, I just fall forever. I click on scene, you can see everything goes on as normal. If I double click on player, you'll see that they're just falling. So that's no good. I mean, we can hit play in the editor and start over, but if someone was actually playing our game, they would have to quit the game to start over. So what we want to do is we want to have our player reset to where they start if they fall off the map. And that's just going to let our players have more of a chance to try again. So let's go to Photoshop. So the way we're going to do this is really quick. If I draw this green box. Oops, no, I don't want to use green. So if this big flat box is our level, and here's our player. So if we follow them around, they're walking around, and then they fall off, what they're going to do is they're going to fall pretty much straight down. So what we want to do is we want to know when they get uh, below the level, right? So we're going to take, you guessed it, a big old trigger. So we're going to take a trigger, make it huge, put it below the level, and when the player enters that trigger, we're going to send them back to where they started. Okay? So another thing we need to do is we need to save where the player started. So we're going to record their position and their rotation, um, uh, and then we're going to have them be able to reset to it. Okay, so we're actually going to create two different scripts. We're going to create a resettable object script, and we're going to create a reset trigger. Okay, so let's go back to Unity and let's work through this. So in our scripts folder, first let's create our resettable object. So we're going to create a C# script called resetable object. Okay, let's open that up. Um, so we don't need our update method for this, but we do need our start method. So for our start method, we want to save our original position and rotation. So we need something to save this in. So position is a vector 3. So we're going to call this original position. And rotation is a quaternion. Quaternion, we talked about a little bit before. Original rotation. Okay. So when the game first starts, we're just going to set where this resettable object is. So we're going to say um, original position equals transform dot position, and original rotation equals transform dot rotation. Okay, so this is just going to set these values at wherever the player was to begin with. So now we're going to take we're going to create a custom method called reset me with no arguments and two curly brackets. And actually, we want to be able to access from outside of this class, so we're going to make it a public void reset me with its two parentheses and its two curly braces, curly brackets, curly braces. So inside there, what we're going to do is we're just going to do the opposite of this. We're going to take the resettable objects transform dot position and set it equal to original position. Okay, and then we're going to take the objects transform rotation, set it to original rotation. Okay, so this just gets applied to our object. Nothing needs to happen to it. So now let's create our trigger. Okay, we have our resettable object. Let's create a new C# script called reset trigger. Okay, let's open that up. So all we need to do in the reset trigger is wait for an object to fall into it, get a reference to its resettable object, and then we just need to reset it. So give me 1 second. Okay, so in our reset trigger, all we need to do is, so in our reset object, I'll just go to Photoshop. When the player or when anything enters this trigger, we just need to reset it. Okay. Um, so let's go to our script. So in order to see when something enters the trigger, we want to use our onTriggerEnter method, which is our special Unity method. And we need a reference to what's falling into it. So we're going to say collider other. Now, I want to be able to use this resettable object on all different kinds of things, not just the player. Okay, so if the enemy falls off the edge, I want to be able to reset them. If the player falls off the edge, I want to be able to reset them. If I don't know, if a coin falls off the edge, I want to be able to reset it. Right? We don't want our level to break because something has fallen off the edge. So what we're going to say is, if on trigger enter, we're going to try and get a reference to the resetable object. So we're going to say resetable object obj equals other dot get component resetable object. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to get a resettable object from whatever collider has fallen into this trigger. Now, it's not guaranteed that every object that falls through that will have a resettable object on it. So before we do anything to this resettable object script, we need to check to make sure it exists. So we're going to say if obj equals, just do equals for now. I've read that we can get a problem. We can have issues with this, but we'll mess with that one. So we'll say if obj equals, or actually we don't want to do equals, we want to do not equals null. So if obj is not nothing, so as long as it's something, as long as this is successful, we want to say obj dot reset me, right? So remember, if I go back to our resettable object script, we have our reset me method. Okay. So that's just going to reset the object wherever it was when it started. So let's go and test this out. Go to Unity. So first we need a big cube as a trigger. So I'm going to create a 3D object cube. I'm going to make it scale like 100 by 100 in the C value. It's nice and big. And I'm going to maybe 120 and maybe 10. Okay, so we have this big cube. It's pretty big. Should be able to catch all. We might want to make it bigger later, but for now I think this is good. So if anything falls into this cubed trigger, okay, this trigger, it's going to reset, and we'll leave it visible for now. So we need to add the reset trigger component. So for add component, reset trigger. So if anything falls in this trigger now, it will reset if it has a resettable object script on it. So let's grab the player, add component, resettable object. So neither of these scripts need us to set up anything, right? It's all done within the script, and that's great. I love when that happens. So let's try it out. So we hit play, we fall, bingo. We hit that trigger, we reset. Great. So let's test this out. First, let's test it out on our enemy, see what happens when we don't have it. So we can get our enemy to chase us. This is kind of sad. They can fall with us. So we reset, but they do not. They have just kept falling. Okay? So, well, it's cool to let the player do that. Maybe we don't want to. So let's say we don't want to let the player kill our enemies like that. We can add the resettable object to our enemy. Just add it to the enemy or anything. You can grab our enemy, have them chase us, fall, reset, and look who it is. It's our enemy. So, no. So yeah, that's our resettable object script. Really handy, especially like in a level with a platforming challenge. Yeah, great.